Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check. I'm back for another podcast, another episode. Yes, I'm back. Let me officially introduce the show. It's a Taste to Consider podcast. I'm your host, Derek Silver. And like I said, I'm back. back for another episode. It's a new year, 2026. Happy New Year. It is a new year. And it took me a minute to come back from the last episode. And that was just some, it was out of my hands. It was out of my control. Um, I was fully prepared, had the episode ready and everything, did all the usual work that I needed to do for the episode. But I had this out of the blue um minor health scare, and it was definitely minor. It was minor. I'm not going to try to exaggerate everything that went on, but it's something that maybe I'll talk about it later in another episode, go further in details, but it was something that normally happens to people. But it's usually a progression on how it, gets from how it starts and how it gets to worse. And mine went from 0 to 100 in a matter of hours. Um, I found myself in urgent care, and they almost sent me to the emergency room. That's how, serious it was getting, or it could have gotten. Um, and it was interesting because, like, even up to the week up to it happening, because it happened on a Sunday, and the week leading up to it, just when I had time to reflect back on it, I came to the conclusion that it wasn't just a physical situation that was going on with me. It was a spiritual situation. The more and more I've been doing my reading and stuff like that, and I'm a researcher by nature. I always be researching something. So um yeah, what happened to me is was kind of like me. I was shedding a part of myself, and it manifested itself into the physical form. And I don't take it lightly, though, on either side, the physical or the spiritual side, because it freaked me out. I ain't gonna lie. I was scared as hell. Because I don't get sick. I don't end up in urgent care. I don't end up in emergency rooms. Like, this is not something that frequents. You know what I'm saying? And then I just, got a physical, went to the doctor and all that other stuff, and I'm always help. I ain't gonna say always, but for the most part, 90% of the time, I'm very health conscious. I take it very seriously. I got a routine in place for that, for my physical health as well as my mental health. And, it's just that junk freaked me out. Um, so that kind of derailed me from recording. And after, the situation happened, I just had to get myself back. I had to get my mind back right, because I was like, bruh, physically I had to get right too, but mentally I definitely had to get back right, because that junk freaked me out. It freaked me out what happened. And it was just the normalest. Like I said, it's something that happens to everybody at some point in their life. And there's a progression to how serious it can get. And mine's went from 0 to 100 quick. And yeah, and the more and more that I took time to research what, happened to me after, getting back my results from the test that they did and everything. Yeah, they probably should have sent me to the emergency room just in case, but thank God that they didn't have to, because it could have got really bad. Um, but I'm good. I'm back. I'm here, and I'm much more aware now and of certain things that I need to pay attention to. But yeah, it freaked me out. But like I said, we here. It's a new year. Um, 2026. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everybody had a great holidays. Um, this is 2026 is considered a 1 year, also a 10 year, depending on how you look at it. But either way, people like to eliminate that zero. And when I say it's a 1 year, that means you add up all the numbers 20, 26, you add those up, becomes the 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. So they say it's a 10 year as well as a 1 year. And that signifies in numerology and stuff, new beginnings. And also in 2026, it happens on February 17th, though, the Chinese New Year. This will be the year of the fire horse. And that signifies it's time to go get it. It's time to go get it, Right now, 2025, and currently we're still in the snake year, the year of the snake. So that's where, you're supposed to do a lot of shedding, releasing, letting go of things. So we still in that snake part until February 17th when the Chinese New Year happens, and it's the year of the fire horse. And you gotta get running, get to it, get done, get whatever you trying to get done. And also, of course, March 20th. That is the astrological as well as the earthly New Year. We only in the calendar New Year, but I was thinking back earlier. The last time we had a 1 year or a 10 year was back in 2017, and I thought that was interesting, just from what it signifies in numerology. 2017, I started podcasting. I got the guys together and we created the You and You podcast, Unproductive and Unapologetic. And I also started my mental health blog, greatestiamblog.com. So when I was thinking about that earlier today, and I put two and two together, it got me a little bit even more excited for this new year. So I'm looking forward to what new beginnings I'm going to have. I also got a new job in 2017. So yeah, hopefully, some new beginnings, the same new beginnings that happened in 2017. I ain't gonna say the same, but it's inevitable. New beginnings this year, 2026. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to, holding myself accountable, doing my part, putting that work in for whatever it is, whatever opportunities present themselves. I'm very excited about getting back in the gym consistently and getting my, discipline back down. Because I've been off and on the past couple of months. It's always difficult around these months, November, December, January, up into January at least. My birthday in November, and then you got Thanksgiving in November, and then you got the other holidays. So I'm looking forward to getting back in the gym, because I was looking at I came across some old pictures from 2023, some of my progress pics and stuff like that, and man, that was the best aesthetic I had back in 2023, and I can't even remember 2023 and how physically in shape I felt, but the way I looked, yeah. And it's funny because 2024 and 2025, I was chasing that. And I want to be mindful not to chase 2023 and 2026. 2024 and 2025, I was dealing with I dealt with a few injuries that kind of messed up my discipline, my motivation, and my mindset. Honestly, I ain't gonna put it all on the injuries because some of them I could have worked through and worked around, um, and still been in good shape. But I kind of let those derail me a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to seeing um what the podcast is going to bring. I'm looking forward to just a lot of things, and whatever opportunities present themselves, and I just want to make sure that I'm ready for them, whatever it may be, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. I just I want to be ready for whatever opportunities present themselves. Um, but I'm back for another episode. So let me jump right into this because I don't want to, be up on here too long. It's Friday night, Friday evening, January 2nd. So, but the topic that I came up with for this particular episode, I was at work in the office, and I was listening to a sermon. I was listening to another Creflo sermon. If you listen to the last episode, that's what sparked that episode. And the same thing with this episode. I was listening to a sermon, and he was talking about God providing for you and stuff like that. And once I finished the sermon, I sat back. I was just sitting back in the office, sitting back in my office, and I was just contemplating, and I was just, thinking to myself. I was just like, just knowing my history and my, my relationship with God and just my relationship with faith, period, and trust. Um, I was just like, and I'm hesitating here because I wanna say it correctly, even though I got it down on paper, but I want to say correctly what I was thinking in that moment. So I was sitting in my office, and I was contemplating on what I just listened to, and I was just thinking, I was just like, damn. So is the way that you know Nah, I just need to say what I actually wrote down. Let me just do it that way because I'm gonna mess it up. So the question I came up with after sitting in my office and contemplating on what I just listened to, and just faith and trust and stuff. This is the question I came up with. Does the natural instinct and societal pressure providing I gotta start over. I messed the whole question up because I was scribbling and doing all this other stuff. I'm sorry. All right. So, and I'm not even gonna cut this out. I'm not gonna cut all that stuff out. I'm not doing that no more. So I was sitting in my office, and I was contemplating on what I just listened to. And I was thinking about, trust and faith in God and how God provides and protects us. And I was thinking how that relates to me as a man. And this is the question that I came up with. Does the natural instinct and societal pressure of protecting and providing make it difficult to allow and have faith in God protecting and providing for you? And I came up with that question, of course, because I know that those societal pressures and that natural instinct of being a man does affect me having faith in God to protect and provide for me. And I'm sitting there thinking like, does that happen with other men? And I'm mainly focusing on black men because it's a little different. It's definitely it ain't no it's different for black men. And I said to myself, I was like, of course it does. Of course it does. I don't even have to ask if it affects other black men the same way because I see it. I see the same things that I go through in other black men. Similar things that they say, the way that they handle certain situations and stuff like that. So I know it's there. And I asked some guys to come on here and it didn't work out. So I was just like, I just got to move on and just keep it, just do it myself. That's just what it is. No hard feelings, no out outlandish or outrageous thought processes to think why it didn't happen to anything like that. It's just supposed to be me talking about this. And if it comes back up later to invite somebody else, then it'll happen. But yeah, those things definitely affect me. And I always have talked about how, our relationship with our parents affect our relationship with God because we know our parents as protectors and providers for us before we even know about God or understand who God is to us or who he's supposed to be to us. And then we have to establish a relationship with God after we've already built a foundation with our parents. And I know my relationship with my parents has affected my relationship with God. The foundation, at least, the early years when I was a child and stuff like that, teenager, and those relationships kind of running parallel at the same time, particularly for me because I started going to church when I was in elementary school, probably like sixth grade. And me and my brother, we was going to church by ourselves because he was invited by some friends of his. And my brother, he's 6 years older than me. So he was a senior in high school when we first started going, and I was in sixth grade. So the church and stuff was new to me. It was just good to be with my brother, good to be around other young people, same age, and it was just good to have something new. So I didn't really understand God that well at first or whatever. It was just good that being a place that felt good. And the church also provided me a space to have male role models. My dad was living in the house or whatever, but me and my dad didn't have a close relationship. He wasn't involved with me like that. So it felt good to have older men, mentor me and, teach me things and stuff like that. So I still wasn't really paying attention to God at that time. I was more so getting the things that I didn't get from home in the church. I didn't really start building a true relationship with God, my own relationship with God until, shoot. And it's crazy now that I'm even saying this and talking about this. Probably in by the time I turned 30. And I'm 44 now. I just turned 44 back in November. So 14 years. And I knew God from the age of 11 all the way up to the age of 30. So that's 19 years right there. 19 years of really not having a relationship with God, knowing God, but not having a relationship with him to the 14 years now, up until now, that I've been building my own relationship with God. So I didn't trust God in my 20s up into my 30s. I didn't really trust God. It was difficult for me to have faith in God. I didn't really know how to talk to God. So I looked at it sort of a way that my relationship went with my parents, my dad and my mom. I I, I couldn't I didn't I didn't expect God to protect me because I didn't necessarily feel protected in the home. And there's layers to that. It's not nothing like physical or anything like that. It's more, the mental and the emotional part. Granted, my parents provided for me, so I'm never going to sit here and say they didn't provide for me. My parents definitely provided for me, but I'm also speaking to the mental and emotional and even the physical part of it. Granted, God is however you consider God. God isn't here physically, you know, but He can show up in the physical plane, the physical world, our physical world. Um, but I didn't know what to expect from God in those areas, and I didn't trust it. I didn't have faith in it. And even when I, started really building that relationship with God, starting in my 30s and stuff, and that was around the same time I started going to therapy at the age of 30. So I don't find it strange that those two timelines started up at the same time, especially where I was at the time mentally and emotionally. Um, just bought my house, living on my own, um, by myself a lot. My friendships not the same anymore. Um, not really knowing who I was as a man, stuff like that. So I, I had to lean on God. That at that point, even though I didn't have a relationship with God in the past, I knew of Him, so I knew I had to go somewhere. I knew, I had to go to God, and I had to get help for my mental and emotional as well. So those two timelines lined it up perfectly. Um, but even like now, I still have little residue from the past, and trying to just understand certain things, why certain things happen, why certain things are allowed to happen, and me being a very analytical person, and like I said, a researcher and an overthinker, I put, too much into looking into the past at times, or looking into the future, or over analyzing certain situations and stuff. And I tell myself a lot now, and over the past few years, to just just allow these things to happen. And it'll if there's something that I need to learn or understand or anything like that, it's gonna come to me. And there's times where I've held true to that, and those situations have happened. I've come to the conclusion of things. It wasn't like a thing, how we are as humans, and particularly now in this social media age, we want everything quick, fast. So it wasn't every lesson I didn't learn or understand everything in a day or a week. Sometimes it took years for me to really get. And I'm still struggling with it, honestly. And it's to be expected, because it's God. We don't, we don't know. We just don't know. And that's what faith and stuff is all about. But just me living on my own, and having spent a lot of time on my own throughout my life, through my childhood, teenage years, stuff like that, I came to rely on just me relying on myself and trying to fix everything, figure everything out. And it became a strain on me, and I believe that's where a lot of my, mental health issues have came from. And I'm not a licensed professional, but I see the same things in other people. We try to control everything as people. We do. We try to control everything. And it causes a lot of grief and strife throughout our lives and even other people's lives because it leaks on other people. Um, and I'm supposed to be following the timeline, but my head, I'm just going at this point. So let me look at the time, my outline. I said timeline, my outline, and see. Um, yeah. So the first thing on here I got is difficult to ask for help, and that's me, big time. It's difficult for me to ask for help, period, because it's two things. When I have asked for help, there was conditions behind it, or I felt like I had to owe a person, or they held it over my head, or something like that. And the other side, I asked, and they wouldn't come through, or it didn't come through the way that I needed it to come through. So that has been like a consistent theme throughout my life, and I mean throughout my life. And it's not, me trying to rag on people or anything like that, but I feel as though um how I grew up, how my parents grew up as well. We talk about these cycles within the family or whatever. So I don't blame my parents, for doing what they knew. I'm not gonna say the best that they could. I'm just gonna say what they knew. And by me by me, experiencing that and learning that and looking at people that way, I think it's just only natural that I would gravitate towards majority of people that I gravitated towards or I dealt with throughout my life have been the same way because I've it's an energy thing and I also believe it's a mindset thing. You think that that's normal. I thought that that was normal. So I also thought that it was normal to just rely on myself, not to ask for help, period. You know, if I can't do it myself, then it just won't get done and whatever falls or whatever suffers. So I have a problem. I had a problem. I had a really bad problem trusting people to help me. There's still residue to this day. I don't think you ever, this is just my opinion, I don't think you ever really get rid of the things that you've experienced. I think you rise above them. I think you learn how to navigate them differently, but I don't think they ever go away. And I used to think that, particularly when I first started going to therapy, I used to think that these, it would just go away. You would just be healed and everything go away. But it doesn't. It doesn't. And I used to be so hard on myself for quote unquote regressing or falling back. And, I still deal with it today. Is no, I'm human. But me not trusting people to ask for help, people that I can see, people I can touch, people that I, around me all the time or can't, I can choose to be around all the time. So how you think, with a spiritually immature mind or spiritually less experienced person would look at God that you can't see, touch, feel, and stuff. So that would be that way, So if I can't even ask people for help and trust that they're gonna protect or provide me in whatever situation I need them to do that for, or what the situation calls for, I'm not gonna think that way with God, and that has been a real struggle for me, a very real struggle for me. Um, Also, just to start wrapping this portion up with the help part is receiving help. People there have been people, and there is people who had has come through for me, have come through for me, offer to come through for me, you know, and it's difficult for me to receive that because there's a fear behind that. I think, is how genuine is it, or what are they going to want from me? Um, yeah, so those things all still kind of hold me back today from receiving help. Like people be like I ain't gonna lie, people be wanting to help me all the time. They really do. Like podcast stuff. They want to bring me onto their shows, and they have bigger platforms than me and stuff like that. But I've always had something holding me back and something like that. And it's it's sad. I'm gonna say it's sad. That's what I want to say. It's sad. It's sad that I've dealt with that over the years. Like a lot of the opportunities that I got when I started podcasting and the blog was from people wanting to help. They resonated with my message. They liked the message that I was providing. They liked my energy, all that other stuff, you know, and they put me in positions to further what I was trying to do. Did I always accept? No. But when I did accept, it really did. It really was some good momentum pushed behind me. And I've talked about this previously on the podcast. Like I fell off the momentum from the blog and the podcasting and stuff like that. I let situations that happen in between the podcast and stuff just turn me off from it. And that was from, it would be situations dealing with people and stuff like that. I'd be like, here we go again. Or, I just be like, I'm used to this type situation. So it just turned me off. It'll slow my momentum down and stuff like that. And yeah. I can laugh at it now because when I'm talking about it, I'm picturing certain instances where, I fell off, the momentum fell off, yeah. Damn. Also, just looking back at the outline, I already talked about wanting to be in control and stuff like that. And it's like you I ain't gonna I'll say I would feel a safety in trying to be in control because you feel as though that you can control each and every outcome. But it just don't work that way. It really don't work that way. As hard as it is to let go and allow things, God to do his work, or the universe to do their work, or people to help you and all that other stuff, but just see. Just wait and see. Just see what your work will produce instead of always pushing. It's difficult to let go, especially for a man, because we've always been taught we got to make it happen. We got to make it happen. There's no rest. You'll sleep when you die. You always got to be hustling. We always got to have that mentality. That's why it's like there's a lot of women out here with that hustling mentality that just come straight off like they just got that man energy. Like that masculinity. And I'm sitting here thinking like, and I was thinking the same thing when I was going through prepping for the show or whatever. Like that is people call toxic masculinity or toxic femininity. we just focus on the masculinity part. The toxic masculinity, that's the toxicity right there. They're always trying to control outcomes, never giving yourself no rest, thinking you always gotta hustle, not allowing people to help you and stuff like that. That's toxic masculinity. Being so caught up into being a man or being masculine that you trying to control every aspect of your life and other people's lives in some instances. Um, because we're natural. The natural instinct part in that question and just the natural order of things, and this is where you got to find a balance in your life, because we can say all day certain things are things that society pushed on us, but naturally that's just how men are. We're naturally fixers, builders. It's natural for us to protect. Society amps that crap up to a different degree. And then now you got social media amping it up even more, that everybody, every dude, and like I say, even some women, they be on that ultra masculine mode where they gotta have that hustle mentality and always controlling everything, trying to push push through and not allowing them to get any rest, no help, nothing. So yeah, is it can be a struggle, and it's a burden. That's the word. It's a burden, man. When I just said that word, I I felt the burden on my back. when I said that, when I said it's a burden to be so focused on protecting and providing and not having a place, a person, a community, a village to go and feel protected and provided for. Men haven't been taught that. Men haven't been taught to how to be protected and provided for. And if we already got that going on naturally in society, in society, then it's definitely will be a struggle to let go and have God protect and provide for you. And then, just how do you go to God and ask how to be protected and provided for, and have a balance in your life? And yeah, you can go to church, you can read the Bible and stuff like that, but we really got to start having these conversations, because I think what's most important, not discounting, going to church or the Bible or anything like that. Everybody's process is different when it comes to their relationship with God. So I will never throw, in my experiences, I will never throw, no, just go to church, just read the Bible. I will never throw that out there, because I've I've done everything imaginable in my process in my relationship with God. Um, I think what has helped me the most is having conversations with people and getting more of learned experiences from others, having these conversations, as well as myself. Um, Writing things down, writing certain experiences down and stuff like that. Keeping a journal, gratitude journal, stuff like that. Um, Paying attention to my dreams. My dreams have had messages from God in them, and just the examples of other people's lives. And at this point in time, Creflo has been a focus of mine, despite in the past that my past feelings and thoughts on him. Um, Hearing examples from his life, and you know, somebody could say, "Well, just read the Bible. There's plenty of examples in there." I don't know them people. I can't see them people, and I'm not trying to discount that, but I'm trying to use the best thing for me. And the best thing for me is, for some people that may be the best thing for them to do, the see the examples and the stories, and all that in the Bible. And I've done both, but for me is I'm like I said, I'm very analytical and all that other stuff. So seeing other people, hearing their stories, their testimonies and stuff like that, that has worked for me. You know, um, I'm trying to build my prayer life up, to build my faith up, and I don't care what y'all think. I talk to myself a lot now. I talk to myself a lot now. When when I start getting like anxious and stuff like that, I say certain things out loud. Whether it's a affirmation or scripture, or just I'll just say something to God real quick, um, to try to keep me in a space of peace, calm, um, and to get to a much more consistent place of trusting God that He's going to protect and provide for me in those moments that I'm feeling anxious and stuff like that. When I had that health scare, I ain't gonna lie, it's all that stuff totally went out the window. I'm not gonna lie. I reverted back to what I was used to. And like I talked about, the 19 years of not of knowing God but not having a relationship with God, versus the 14 years that I've been working on it. And those 19 years of what I'm so used to doing, it I hate to say it because I don't want to speak it out, but it is what it is. It's stronger, has been stronger than the 14 years of fluctuating faith, and the all on and off and on relationship that I have had with God, and that's the process of building my relationship with God, is getting to that point where it's not off and on, where I'm, even if I may fall back or quote unquote regress in a moment, that it's not going to be a whole week or a whole month or months where, excuse me, burp number 1, 2, and 3, where I just completely fall off and just forget about God and the things that He has done. And that's another point right there, that I've been working on a lot. That's when I talked about the gratitude journal or whatever, and just not even always writing it down, just taking moments. Like I took a moment today after coming back from getting my hair cut, and how cold it was outside, and just being able to turn on my fireplace. I ain't have heat in the house. I was just like, God, thank you for this heat. Thank you for me having a warm place to come to. Oh man. So yeah, that's it. It's a burden, and fellas, I I know y'all may be having struggles, and you probably not even really nurturing a relationship with God right now, or it's an off and on type situation. Um, I would just say that you not by yourself. I definitely deal with the same things, and it's not nothing to beat yourself over. I've finally gotten to that point that it's not anything to beat yourself over with. For the off and on again and all that, the regression, or not even really nurturing, because um The way I feel like God understands. He's always there with open arms ready for you. I know even when I was just off on a different type of type of mindset when it came to my relationship with God, and He got me through some situations, boy. I'll tell you, He got me through some situations. So I get it. I get it. So I think overall message of this episode right here is that I'm with you. I understand, and I think the most important thing and what I know is lacking right now with my relationship with God is community. And I know, just go to church, just go to church. Nah, man. I mean, not saying that that's not an ideal situation, but it's just not as easy as going to church. Just like same way with therapy, it's not just easy just going to therapy. You have to find the right community. You have to find the right community, just like you gotta find the right therapist. Um, what's interesting is before the new year even came about, I was already saying to myself, I think it was back in November or something like that. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to therapy in this new year. I'm gonna go back to therapy. So I'm ready to start looking for a new therapist. I already got what I want in the therapist. I'm working on that. I got a little bit in my mind already, but like I said, new year, 1 year, 10 year. Look, do your own research on what it means for you, the numerology of a 1 year or a 10 year, and also um, February 17th, the year of the fire horse, and what that means to you, to your life, and stuff like that. And yeah, um, hey, if you want to support the show, the easiest and best way to support it is to like, share, download, subscribe, all that good stuff. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Yeah, da 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 da. I appreciate you. I'll be back next week. I already got another episode playing. So um, no more health scares. No more health scares. That junk freaked me out. But yeah, it's a Taste to Consider podcast. I'm your host, Dirk Silver, and I am out. Peace.